Hi everyone. The title of this live today, if you will, this actual sermon is Sermon from the Garden. Before I get into too much of the sermon, if you will, the garden is part of the sermon. So if we look at the garden being metaphoric, if you will, the garden is where it all began on earth, the fall from grace, if you will, the descension into this world. So the garden was the entrance point. However, also the garden is the exit point. So when you find yourself in the state of purity, that you're back at the point of origin, the garden, then you are ready to go into the heaven on earth, if you will, metaphorically, again. So the garden is again a very important representation, and the Garden of Eden that deals with the temptation that caused, if you will, the fall from grace to remain into the fallen world. And when you look at temptation, it is a choice that one is given at times. They are tempted, and you have the choice within you to choose the higher choice or to go into the temptation. When the temptation is negative oriented, not of virtue, non-virtuous, and non-pure, it descends you further, and it takes you further and further away from your exit point. So in this great time of ascension, and what you could say on your journey home, your journey back to the garden, to be ready to leave, what is so important with that comes the purity to do it, the purity of the soul, making amends for past wrongs, preparing the self for the deliverance. And it is a very, very real thing, as most of you can see now with what is occurring worldwide, with what you would call unprecedented worldwide natural disasters. However, you may say it is unprecedented to what you know. However, in the past, it was not unprecedented. It did occur before, especially with the floods, the fires long ago. And it has been written for this time once again. It has been seeded throughout antiquity that this time would come, this great time of judgment, this great time of the ending, and the great time of the new beginning as well. So the garden holds a very important metaphoric place for all, if you will, to look at it as being the point of origin into deception, but also the exit point when you arrive back to the garden. And you can say also when you find the secret garden. For back at that point of origin, the garden does have the secrets. It does have the way to exit. Before I continue a little further, what I wish to say is I work for God, for Father and Mother God, and I also work for humanity. I am the immediate son of God the Father. I am a high priest from the order of Melchizedek. my incarnation into a physical vessel on earth has this incarnation being only the third time. I only come in very important divine and you can say biblical times. And not unlike those past times, I am here in this now to do the same divine work that I do for God, but also for humanity. And again, it's through the individual choice that is their own salvation. I am a guide for all of those ready to go forward, and the teachings I do deliver does effect that. So, Father has instructed me this morning during communion that we're going to look at a couple things in the Bible, if you will. I'll put on these glasses. And let's say in the Bible, like all faiths worldwide, it has been manipulated and infiltrated to a degree. But having said that, it's so important for ones on your journey not to throw the baby out with the bathwater. This idiom is a very important, let's say, thing to keep in mind, because essentially and really everything has a value. There is a reason for everything and its occurrence, and your experiences with these experiences, I will say. So again, it's important to use your discernment, like with the Bible, to discern what is valuable, what is truth, and what is not. It's part of your guidance mechanism. And as I said before, everything has been manipulated to a degree. However, when your heart is not manipulated, when you come to the higher sense of divine morality, then you are able to see through the illusions. You are able to see the core values of everything, including each other. Who is an actual soul? Who is not a soul, meaning a minion, meaning an evil one? And yes, there is both in this world. As you know, our focus is not upon evil, it is upon the souls, the children of God, and the exit from the evil world. And that is where the focus needs to be. Having said this, what I do is I cater to all levels of consciousness in my divine work. There are many that are ready to go forward, to ascend, and part of that, at any given time, every day, another one awakens. And for what I do here on earth, it can be described, if you will, with the parable of the lost sheep in Matthew, the book of Matthew, chapter 18, verses 12 to 14. And with the lost sheep, what occurs, if you will, typically when a farmer or a shepherd has 100 sheep and one goes astray, the good shepherd will leave the 99 sheep. For one reason, they're all together. There's the strength in the number. And he will go and look for that one, to bring that one back. Metaphorically, there's a very important message with this. And again, it shows the great compassion, the duty of care of God and all of the good shepherds, all of the good divine ones that are placed here on earth for this great time of ascension to assist and to accommodate others with the way to the garden ready to go home. So it is a very important understanding to have that this whole journey is not about the self. It's a selfless journey. And if one goes astray and you hear their call, you go and you assist from your compassion, from doing what is morally right, from your divine duty of care, where your divine dignity presides, to know that it's not about you, it is actually about the others. And with that, all egocentricism has to go. The ego separates and divides. So you need to exchange your lower ego for your divine ego, which is your divine identity. And with that divine identity comes the mercy, comes the compassion, the understanding, the selflessness, and to know that you are fine, that the reason you are here on earth is not about you, it's to assist others in this great time. And there is no mistaking. The signs are irrefutable that you are in this great time of the ending of the judgment days, the decision who goes forward, who stays behind, if you will, in this hell that was entered the moment that you stepped into the garden, and the choices that you made since you came into the garden of earth, since you were born into the garden. So it's very important and to consider the parable of the lost sheep. And Father wanted me to bring that up today. Now we also, what I have written down here with communion with Father, I took some notes. And we have next on this list, Matthew, the book of Matthew, chapter 20, verse 16. And with that, it typically says, perhaps not verbatim, depending upon which version of the Bible you may be looking at. However, what it says, he who tries to go first goes last. And it's a very important message in that, and also a guidance mechanism with this current ascension that everyone is on. So he who tries to go first goes last. Now, why would that be? Well, simply, if one tries to go first and leave the others behind, that is an act of selfishness. Then what occurs is that one is unable to go forward, for they have selfishness within them yet that needs to be cleared. And when you have one that is ready to go forward, that steps up and retains a divine discipline of assisting others, even though that one may have just awakened yesterday, and if they are in more alignment, do not have the selfishness, then they excel forward in all of the beautiful rewards of the ascension. So it's important, again, to know that everything is a message and everything is layered. And of course, It depends on how you perceive the message. But with every message, there's not just one meaning. There are many, dependent upon the level of the consciousness where one is at, and how you are able to perceive and look at things. For those that have eyes to see, for those that have ears to hear. And there is a difference with the sight and with the hearing, as you know. The next one that Father wanted me to bring up, and it is so important in this ascension as well. I'm going to light a cigarette. Yes, I smoke. This tobacco is free of preservatives and an organic blend, and it's fine for this vessel. So with that, we wish to look at the book of John, chapter 17, verse 24. And what it says, do not judge according to appearance, but judge with righteous judgment. Righteous judgment goes deep to discern one through their actions and their deeds. You are to look at the heart of another, not their physical appearance, not what they do for themselves. If they like to smoke, that is fine. And it's not for one to judge another on this. If you're going to judge, you judge righteously from the heart, which means you look at the heart of the other soul. And what you do with this, then, if you judge righteously. For example, if the other soul is a chronic liar yet, it is perfectly fine to say to them, you are a liar. You must change. And it's also important at times to state this truth to another. Sometimes ones need to be told these things. However, again, judgment is a very fine line. It's a very gray area. And it's also when ones are beginning to awaken and begin their journey, you are typically told not to judge, to learn about the righteous judgment and how to view ones. But also, when you judge one negatively, you are to focus on their light and their good deeds, to give them the opportunity for them to override their temptations, to make the higher choices, and support that. You don't wish to condemn one through your judging. You wish to state a truth, a fact, however then, with great compassion and mercy, uplift. Do not condemn one. I see upon earth there are so many different beliefs that are out there, so many faiths, different religions. And what I see with it is the division it causes. Ones will tend to look at the minor differences and variations instead of looking at the common goal that leads all to God, and to come together with that one common goal. The religions, the different beliefs, they're perfectly fine. They can be an act of separation if you allow it to be, but they can also be a point of convergence. The main thing is the belief in God. Yes, Jesus is the way as well. However, when you look in different religions and different faiths, that place for God is there to take you forward. And in this great time worldwide, in every faith and every religion, there are evil ones as well as good ones. It's important not to just think a religion is bad because of a couple bad apples. That is not true. And I'll look at the Muslim faith as an example and part of my experience here on earth in this incarnation and part of my, you can say, ministry, is I have met beautiful Muslim souls, and they are oriented towards God as well. And having said this, we have seen perhaps in news what would be called terrorist, bad Muslims. However, you can also say this with Christianity, that you have good and bad. You have false prophets, you have false idols that are out there saying they believe in God, and with that belief in God should be that purity. However, you are able to see through that superficiality when one says that they believe in God. However, with their actions, when they do the opposite, you're able to see that they are a false one. They are a false prophet. And they also could be evil, if you will. When you look at evil, and you look at Satan, if you will, Satan was the master of deception and illusion and trickery. Yes, Satan would blasphemize God and even pose as God, if you will. However, once you looked at the actions and the deeds, then you could see what was right, what was righteous, what was good, and to what effect was the one really working towards, what was their ulterior motives, what was their actual intent. And when you look at the actual intent over the course of time, you can more readily see if the intention was to harm or was it to help. So there is a big difference with that. And discernment is so important. Don't exclude another because of their beliefs. Everyone needs to understand that everyone is on their journey. I see many today renouncing Catholics. And what I wish to say about that, yes, there are some dark things that occurred in the Catholic Church. However, I know very beautiful Catholic souls. Some were Catholics, some still are Catholics. But the thing is that there is good and that there is value in all things. And again, on your journey, do not throw the baby away with the bathwater. When we look at the book of Matthew, and by the way, I love the book of Matthew. It's a very great compilation of more specific things that more pertain to this now metaphorically, and also to enhance and support the way for this now. So with Matthew, book, chapter 7, verse 1 to 2, and what this says, it brings judgment upon self. This causes the one to be judged in the same way. And this is not how it is written there in the Bible, if you will. It's my perspective and my deliverance on it. it goes a little further into the reasons why not to judge, especially in these judgment days, the end times. And one of the reasons also for this, the divine energetics are set up upon earth at this time. If one chooses the lesser choice, the negative choice, and if they go to judge someone and accuse someone, especially wrongly, what occurs is there is a karmic energy that is manyfold that comes back upon their self, that they will find their self being judged and judged and judged, not only by circumstance, but also by others. But this is a self-inflicted wrath. And it's not God to curse about your judgment. Each one is responsible for their own judgment. They are judged by their actions, by their deeds, and of course to always do the good, to do the best and the right things. And the word narcissist, anytime I see that, I say to ones, don't use that word. It's a trick word. It's a trap word. And the moment that one begins to describe another with that word, they also begin to become it. To use that word is a very grave judgment upon oneself. And there is so much distortion within the definition of that word. So what I say, refrain from using that to describe another. There are many more things that occurs in this world, because this world, if you will, is not as it seems, and even more so now while we are in this ascension. And when you add in the multi-dimensional experiences, as well as the understanding of different and parallel timelines, a lot of these things, what ones will blame or accuse another for gaslighting, the gaslighting may not even be there. You need to realize everyone has a different perspective upon reality and what happens, but also for the higher ones that are currently into your multi-dimensional ability, you are not constant in space and time. You fluctuate in different realities, different experiences, and different times. Your multidimensionality is part of your ascension protocol. You need this to ascend to the higher worlds. And at times, yes, it can become confusing. But the thing is to remain as neutral as possible and don't go blaming another for gaslighting if you're not absolutely sure that their intent is malevolent. Because again, if you wrongly accuse someone, that does have detrimental effects upon yourself. And that's why it's a very delicate area. So I'm going a little bit deeper into the judgment, also to let ones understand and know about the energetic effects. And yes, everything is energy, and it has a polarity. It affects you, you affect it. And it's why it's said to always do the good, the right, the best, in the purest, virtuous things. That way, your reality, at least, creates a space to get you through these intense judgment times on earth. So every choice you make, may it be the highest choice always. Love thy neighbor, unless, beyond a shadow of a doubt, you know that your neighbor is evil. Assist all, the good Samaritan, the assisting others, always being in compassion. And by doing this, at times, if you're not sure if one is evil or not, by always not judging them and doing your best for them and with them at any given time, then it is more readily shown to you if they are evil or not. And you are able to rise above the illusion that some of these may perpetrate upon you. And this is why I say, in reality, no one can lie to you. Truth is the dominant energy on earth now, meaning in this time no stone goes unturned, which means no serpent can hide. And serpent, again, is deception. But what this means, deception cannot hide, that all truth comes to the surface. All good things come to those that wait. Patience is a very important virtue as well. And with this, it's so important for ones to also realize that you are in ascension mode. We are ascending. However, it's a planetary ascension. To ascend humanity out of this present savagery of hell, of purgatory, into a civilized state of being and existing, the heaven on earth. And that is what it's about. It's why so many of you have done all of the right things, all of the good things, and you're still here. You're still here because it's not about you. It's about your divine mission that you came to do, to assist, to raise this world out of the evil clutches of hell and purgatory, to make it the heaven on earth, the way that truly it should be. And you do this by unity, by good things, keeping connected. Support your brothers and sisters. Support your divine comrades of light. Do not enter the separation of egocentrism. I think I pronounced that correctly. So it's, so many of these things are very important. And I have my divine cue, if you will, some company arriving that it's time for I to finish this. However, I will say it's perfect, impeccable, divine timing. Father, thank you for I was able to share in this sermon everything that Father had given me this morning to write down, to speak a little bit about. So with that, big love to you all. Peace on earth, peace in your heart, peace in your reality, and love, light, and gratitude, and great patience, and all things good. And have an amazing day wherever you may be. Thank you.